Okay, this is the last video of this lesson. So this is going to be finding the gradient of a graph. So we will begin doing it exactly the same way as we've done all of these. We'll do a table, we'll graph the line, this curve actually, and then we'll find the gradient after that. So we've set it up the same way as always. We'll plug in the points. -2 squared is 4, -2 times -2 is +4, and then we'll put a -3 in for all of it just to not make a mistake. 4 plus 4 is 8, minus 3 is 5, -1 squared is 1, -2 times -1 is a +2, 1 and 2 is 3, minus 3 is 0. 0 squared is 0, anything times 0 is 0, leaving us with -3. 1 squared is 1, this is -2, 1 minus -2 is -1, minus 3 is -4. 2 squared is 4, -2 times +2 is -2, 4 minus 4 is 0, leaving us again with -3. 3 squared is 9, -2 times 3 is -6, 9 minus 6 is 3, minus 3 is 0, 4 squared is 16, -2 times 4 is -8, 16 minus 8 is 8, minus 3 is 5. So again, you see a typical quadratic looking table here. Then we go ahead and we'll plot the points. So we have -2, 5. And if you notice on this, I've spread out my values very significantly because we're going to use this to find an answer. So you need to make sure that you have it exact enough that you could actually look at the graph to get an answer. So make sure your data, the values, are spread out so that you can find a correct value. Okay, so once you've plotted all of your points, it's going to be especially important for you to draw a smooth curve around this, because if your curve is not drawn correctly, it will be very difficult to find the gradient. So do the best you can to go through all the points as smoothly as possible. Okay, so at this point now, they're going to give you a point in which you should find the gradient. They have given us this point, 2, -3. So we take that point. We can only find the gradient at specific points because there's, as you can see for the curve, the gradient varies at different points. Over here we have a negative gradient, over here we have a positive one. So it just changes at every point along the way. So at point 2, -3, so we find that point, that's right here. And what we want to do is draw a line tangent. So that means it only touches at one place. That's going to be this point. Now when we're doing this, we want to make sure that the line that we draw is exactly even. The way we can look at that is by looking at these angles. This angle and this angle should be even. This is going to be difficult with an expo. It should be a little bit easier with your pencil. But again, this is the most difficult and most important aspect of this. I'm going to go ahead and extend my line so I can see it a little bit better. Go all the way this way, and then we'll go back down this way. Okay, so what we're looking for now is we want to find the gradient, so, or the slope, if you will. So we know to do that, that's the equation is the change in y over the change in x. So we need 2 points. They've given you 1 point. Use the point they gave you, 2, -3. So then I'm looking at my line and I say, what's another point that I can use that will be somewhat even? So if I look at it, this one is pretty good there. So I'm going to use that point. So that's going to be, and again I counted by 0.25, so that's going to be 3.75. 3.75 and 0. It's always nice when we can use that. So if we look at this, we have, we call this one x1, y1, and this point x2, y2. We have 0 minus -3 over x2, 3.75 minus 2. So we have 3 over 3.75 minus 2 is 1.75. We get out our calculator and we type it in. 3 divided by 1.75. And we come up with 1.7 with some decimals. So that would be the slope. The book gives you an answer of 2. So we got pretty close there, especially considering we're using an expo. So that's one way of finding the gradient. The book shows you a different way as well. We can go from this point and we can draw a triangle to another point on the graph. So we could go like this, and if we went here to 4 and we went up, then from 2 to 4 is going to be 2, and up from -3 to, if we call this 1.4, then we would say rise 1.4 over run 2. So again, we can use a calculator, and 1.4 divided by 2 is, 1.4. We actually went up here 3.4. I was going to say that doesn't make any sense. 3.4 divided by 2 is 1.4. 3.4. Okay, so this is going to give you 1.4. So again, it's slightly different, and again, not quite 2, but close enough that it will give you a correct answer. So there is some grace on this because it's very difficult to get an exact answer. This is an estimate of the gradient at that point, but it will give you close enough. So you have to be within a certain range to get the full points, but you have to make sure this line is angled correctly to do that. So if you have any questions, please let me know.